Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this content optimization and outsourcing guide, you're going to learn 3 actionable items you should be delegating as a content creator and entrepreneur. Timestamp table of contents in the description, along with some helpful links on how to use Fiverr and Upwork, which we'll be referencing throughout this tutorial. And when you stick around to the end, we'll be going through this diagram that will dive into how you can use outsourcing to easily syndicate your content across multiple platforms without having to dedicate any more time to your content creation and production. Now, as we dive into these 3 things you should be delegating, there are 3 myths that hold people back from actually starting this whole delegation and team growing process. And the very first myth has to do with budget. For some reason, a lot of new creators, small creators, and entrepreneurs alike believe that you have to have some big budget in order to actually start hiring other people and delegating, or have some sort of consistent cash flow in order to do so. And that's just not true. You can use something like Upwork and Fiverr to easily hire people part-time or hire people for just one-off tasks. So if you have $5 or $10 to invest in your business, then you have enough money to begin outsourcing. Now, the second big myth, particularly when it comes to Fiverr, is that it just doesn't work, right? Like, for some reason, this whole outsourcing or delegation thing, Fiverr and Upwork just are scams and they don't work and people don't actually know what they're doing. And that's simply not true. There are a lot of freelancers and Fiverr gigs out there that may not give you the best quality, but when it comes to figuring out how to reduce the amount of time it takes you to produce content, learning how to outsource is definitely going to be very important. And the last myth, for some reason, is people just think freelancers aren't very good or they just don't really work hard. And that's just not true. When it comes to finding a freelancer or a virtual assistant, it's all about finding the right people. As in with anything in life, there are people who are going to work really hard and there are people who are just going to be lazy. Now, as we dive into the 3 things that you should be working to delegate, we want to have one key to success at the front of our minds as we figure out what we should and should not take off our plate. And that is, as the entrepreneur creator, your primary job is to make more content. So if something doesn't directly making the content, then it should be something that you should consider delegating and outsourcing. And the very first thing you should consider delegating and outsourcing is your posting. So whether you're making podcasts, you're writing blog posts, or you're doing YouTube videos, your job is to record, write, maybe edit, we'll get to that number 3, and then when it actually comes to adding it to your WordPress site, uploading it to YouTube, syndicating it across all the different podcasting platforms, that should be something that should be done by somebody else. And the reason this is number 1 is because this is the very first thing you should delegate as an entrepreneur or content creator. And the reason, there's 2. Number 1, it's actually the easiest one to get started with because it's not a super complex process. It's not like you're trying to explain to someone how you want to write a blog post or how you want a video edited. And number 2, it doesn't take a huge budget. You can actually find someone for $5 to $10 per post who will go around and make sure your YouTube videos uploaded and syndicate it across your Facebook page, do your Twitter and Pinterest promotions if that's something that you're doing. And so it's very inexpensive to get started, and it's very easy on you in terms of figuring out, coming up with instructions to delegate the task, because sometimes it can be really hard to figure out, okay, I know how to do it in my head, but how do I actually write it down and then tell somebody else to do it? And that's going to be a bit of a challenge when it comes to the second one, and that is graphics. So graphics, the best place to look for graphics is Fiverr and Upwork. So if you're looking for one-off graphics, just like you want someone to be making some thumbnails or pins for your Pinterest posts, or even making infographics, then Fiverr is actually the easiest place to start, because just going into that search box or going through their categories, you're going to be able to find plenty of people who can put together graphics for you. And the reason that you want to do this is because graphics can suck up a lot of your time. In fact, so much time that you could have made 2 posts or 2 videos in the time it took you to make the initial piece of content and then do all the graphics for it. It's just going to save you a lot of time and headache in the long run. And if you want someone who can come on and you have $30 to $50 a week to spend on a graphic designer, then finding a graphic designer who can work with you longer term on Upwork is definitely the way to go. But if you're just getting started, you're still on that shoestring budget, then Fiverr has your back. You're going to be able to find plenty of people to do graphic design for you, so that would be the place to start. Now, the last one we have is editing, and this is going to apply whether you're making videos, you're writing blog posts, or you're doing podcasts. And this is typically the part that takes the most amount of time when it comes comes to making content and can actually just be a roadblock. I've talked to a lot of fellow YouTubers who, like myself, have stayed up way too late editing a video that needed to go out the next day. So this is the hardest one on the list, but it's also going to be the one that is the most rewarding. So when it comes to cost, if you're looking for someone to just straight up start writing your blog posts, then you're probably going to be paying anywhere from $200 to $500 for a 1,500 to 2,000 word post. If you're looking for someone to do your video editing, then you're probably looking in the range of $30 all the way up to $75 or even $100 for editing your video. That just depends upon your communication style and how fancy you want to be with your video editing, and of course, how many mistakes you make during your video editing, which I make a lot. So it sometimes is on the more expensive end here just because there's so many cuts. It takes me a while to get the lines just right. But video editing is something that's going to save you a tremendous amount of time when you finally learn to delegate it. Now, if you're doing blog posts, then your proofreader is probably going to cost you anywhere from $30 to $50 to just go through your blog post and make sure it's checked for grammar and spelling. It can actually go up from there if you want someone to actually start rewriting it. Now, if you want someone to actually start rewriting your blog post, then I recommend if you go to Fiverr or Upwork to look for someone with magazine writing experience, not academic writers, because let's face it, academic writing is really boring. More people read magazines than they do academic papers. So via that logic and my own personal experience, go and find someone who has blog article writing and magazine article writing experience, because they're going to actually be used to creating content that normal people read. And if you're still watching the video, go ahead and hit that like button. It's time for the bonus round of how to delegate the syndication process of your content. So whether you're doing blog posts, you're doing podcasts, you're doing videos, there are of course a bunch of other platforms. And when you're making content, it's really easy to look at all the content opportunities and go, but I could be posting here, or I could be making this, or I could be making that. That is the perfect opportunity to bring someone onto your team to do it for you. Because as the content creator, you really want to make sure that you're getting really good at your one core type of content, and then using that as a seed for syndication across other platforms. So let's go ahead and go through this diagram very briefly. You can always pause table of contents to take a deeper dive into it. Now, if you're doing podcasting or video, you're looking at anywhere from $15 to $300 for it to be turned into a WordPress post. So you can get it transcribed and then polished up so it looks like an actual blog post. If you're doing blog or video, then for podcasting for video, you can just strip out the audio and upload it as a podcast episode. For a blog post, you can just record yourself reading it, or if you don't want to be recording it, then you can actually find voice actors on Fiverr and Upwork who can read it for you. Although I definitely don't recommend that because it's extremely expensive going from blog post to audio if you're not personally going to do it. And if you are a blogger and you're going to read it, then you can just turn on your webcam and actually record yourself reading it, and then now you have a podcast and a YouTube video. And with recording your podcast, it's pretty much the same process. Now, the last three, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Instagram, are gonna be anywhere from $10 all the way up to $40 per post, depending upon what you're doing. Pinterest is pretty much the same. You're just gonna be hiring someone who's a great graphic designer who can make some Pinterest optimized images to link back to your original piece of content. Now with LinkedIn, if you have a written form of what you're doing, then you're going to create a synopsis and then link back to the original piece of content. Or if it's a YouTube video, you can just embed it right there on LinkedIn Pulse. And finally, Instagram, which is the hardest and most expensive one, the last one you should probably start with. If you have videos or podcasts, you can have a video editor or audio editor go and chop out little pieces of your content and upload them as a post. Of course, you have a 60-second limit there. And if you have a blog post that has a lot of graphics, then you can have someone repurpose those graphics or repurpose some quotes from your blog post to post as a post on Instagram. And that is all there is to it to beginning to delegate and outsource your content. This is definitely not an overnight process, but it is going to be so valuable and helpful in helping you get to bed on time if you're feeling like you have to stay up later to get your content done, or just de-stress the whole content grind and creation process. So if you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. I still read and reply to every single one. Hit that like button, subscribe for more content strategy and outsourcing videos just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.